Once upon a time, in a valley surrounded by towering mountains, two goats happened upon a narrow bridge suspended over a rushing river. On one side stood Gertie, an old and wise goat with a flowing gray beard and kindly eyes. On the opposite side stood Baz, a young and reckless goat full of energy and mischief. They both needed to cross the bridge to reach the lush meadows on the other side, but unfortunately, the bridge was so narrow that only one goat could cross at a time. As soon as they both set eyes on the bridge, they stepped forward, chin held high, ready to reach the other side. "I'm going first," bleated Baz confidently, pawing at the wooden slats beneath his hooves. He flicked his tail with a swagger that made Gertie chuckle. "Ah, young one," Gertie nodded with a smile. "Perhaps there's a better way to get across this bridge that doesn't involve us both falling into the river below." Baz, not quite convinced, asked, "And what's that?" Gertie gently suggested, "If I were to lay down as low as I can, you might trot across my back to the other side. Then I can stand up and cross without any fuss." Baz considered the old goat's suggestion, glancing between Gertie's wise eyes and the swirling waters below. "That sounds like a trick," the young goat squeaked, suspicious yet intrigued. But Gertie reassured him, "I give you my word, my young friend. It's simply wisdom whispered by time." After a moment's hesitation, Baz agreed, curiosity and trust replacing doubt. Gertie slowly lowered herself to her knees, nearly sprawled across the delicate bridge. Baz, his heart pounding with excitement, carefully tiptoed across the old goat's sturdy back. Once safely on the other side, Baz turned around and called, "Thank you. You truly are wise, Gertie." In a serene, unhurried manner, Gertie rose to her feet, crossed the bridge, and joined Baz. "Sometimes," Gertie remarked, "working together is the best way to solve a problem." And so, the two goats wandered into the meadows together, where the wildflowers sang and the grass danced. From that day on, Baz never forgot Gertie's lesson in collaboration, and they remained friends for the rest of their days, exploring new paths and crossing new bridges together. Once upon a time, in a quaint village nestled amid rolling hills and babbling brooks, two goats came upon a narrow, wobbly bridge. The bridge was the only way across a swiftly flowing stream. First came the young goat named Basil, full of pride and youthful enthusiasm. He had striking white fur speckled with flecks of ink black and was known for his headstrong nature. With a confident twitch of his tail, Basil stepped forward, puffing out his little chest. "Move. I will cross first," he declared to the other side of the bridge. On the other side stood the wise old goat, Bartholomew. He was known throughout the land for his wisdom and calm demeanor. Bartholomew's coat bore the marks of time, with streaks of gray. "Why should I move, young one?" Bartholomew asked softly. "There is barely enough space for one goat at a time," he observed. Basil stomped his hooves in impatience. "Because I'm in a hurry," he insisted, clearly believing this should settle the matter. Bartholomew gave a gentle nod. "Patience is a virtue, but tell me, what lies in such a rush, dear Basil?" The young goat paused, his brow furrowing as he hadn't considered the question fully. "Well," Basil began, realizing with a start that he didn't have anywhere pressing to be. Seeing Basil's confusion, Bartholomew proposed an idea. "What if we work together to cross? If we both try to cross at once, surely one will fall into the stream below." Basil, realizing the wisdom in these words, nodded slowly. "What do you suggest, wise Bartholomew?" Bartholomew guided Basil step by step. "If I let you cross first, then you promise to wait for me on the other side, will you?" Suddenly, the young goat saw the wisdom in the old goat's suggestion. "And then we both shall reach the beautiful meadow beyond," Basil said, his tone less demanding now. So, Bartholomew stepped back, giving Basil room to cross. The young goat trotted quickly but carefully to the other side, where he waited as promised. Bartholomew crossed next, his step steady and reassuring. Once both were safely across, they met with smiles and nods of understanding. Together, they enjoyed the verdant meadow beyond, their journey teaching Basil an invaluable lesson about patience and cooperation. And that summer's day, under open blue skies and warm sunlight, was one neither goat would soon forget. Once upon a time, in a lush valley full of greenery and cascading streams, there stood an ancient bridge. This bridge was the only way to cross from one side of the valley to the other. It was a narrow bridge, just wide enough for one goat to walk across at a time. One sunny day, a wise old goat named Elder was making his way home from grazing. As he neared the middle of the bridge, he saw a spirited young goat named Billy coming from the opposite direction. Elder and Billy found themselves face to face, nose to nose, right in the middle of the bridge. Billy, full of energy and might, stomped his hooves and said, "Move aside, old goat. I must get across." Elder, with a twinkle in his eyes, responded gently, "Why don't you move aside, dear Billy? Remember, this bridge is too narrow for both of us." But Billy, being young and headstrong, refused to budge. Elder paused and thought for a moment. He knew that arguing with Billy would lead to both of them being in a stalemate, or worse, they might tumble off the bridge into the stream below. Instead of arguing or chiding the young goat, Elder lay down on the bridge. "Walk over me," he said kindly, looking up at Billy with a calm smile. Billy was taken aback. He had never seen such a gesture before. His eyes widened in surprise. "Are you sure, Elder?" he asked, realizing he had perhaps been too impetuous. "Yes, my young friend," Elder nodded. "Sometimes the strongest form of wisdom is to let go of one's pride and offer kindness." Grateful for the gesture, Billy nodded and gently stepped over Elder, being careful not to hurt him. Once across, Billy turned back and thanked Elder. "I have never met anyone as wise and kind as you. I promise I shall be more patient and understanding like you." Elder rose, his old bones creaking a little, and said, "Kindness always finds a way, Billy." And with that, both goats went their separate ways, Elder towards his cozy meadow and Billy to his favorite grazing hill, both carrying with them a newfound lesson. And from that day on, whenever anyone crossed the ancient bridge, they would remember the story of the wise old goat who showed kindness rather than pride, and the young goat who learned the true meaning of wisdom. In a bustling meadow, where the wildflowers danced in the wind, lived two very different goats. One was a young goat, sprightly and full of energy, named Timmy. The other was an old, wise goat, named Grandpa Billy, who had seen many moons and shared countless stories with the little ones. One sunny afternoon, Timmy and Grandpa Billy set off on an adventure to explore the emerald hills beyond the meadow. Along their journey, they reached a small, wobbly bridge that stretched over a gurgling stream. Timmy felt a flutter of excitement and a twinge of fear in his tummy. "Let me go first," bleated Timmy, his feet tap-tapping the wooden planks nervously. But as he stepped forward, Grandpa Billy, with his twinkling eyes and gentle smile, suggested, "Sometimes the fastest way across is with a little patience." Timmy was puzzled, but he trusted Grandpa Billy, who had an uncanny knack for solving tricky problems. Grandpa Billy laid down on the bridge, making himself as flat as could be. "Step over me, Timmy," he murmured softly. With a leap and a skip, Timmy balanced over Grandpa Billy. Each step felt like a delicate dance, but he reached the other side with a joyful bleat. "I did it, Grandpa." Once Timmy was safe, Grandpa Billy stood up, dusted off his coat, and trotted across the bridge with ease. "Remember, Timmy," he said, reaching the other side intact and smiling, "there's always a way, especially if you think wisely." Their journey continued, filled with more lessons learned and stories shared, and Timmy felt grateful for having Grandpa Billy's wisdom to guide him. The meadow seemed even more colorful that day, now that Timmy knew how to cross life's bridges with a little ingenuity and a lot of trust. Once upon a time, in a quaint little village nestled between the gentle hills and lush meadows, there lived two goats named Bailey and Bella. Bailey was a spirited, mischievous goat with a fiery coat of golden brown, while Bella was a gentle soul, always thoughtful and calm, with soft, snowy white fur. Every day, Bailey and Bella would wander through the village, exploring, grazing, and frolicking in the fields. One sunny morning, as the sun peeked over the horizon, casting a warm glow over the meadows, Bailey came up with an adventurous idea. "Let's explore the other side of the river today," Bailey bleated excitedly to Bella. "I've heard it's a magical place with the freshest clover and the tallest grasses." Bella, ever the cautious one, hesitated. "But the bridge is narrow, Bailey, and we could get into trouble if we're not careful," she replied. Bailey laughed. "Oh, Bella, where's your sense of adventure? We'll be fine. You'll see." After a little coaxing, Bella agreed, and off they trotted towards the bridge that stretched over the bubbling brook, separating their home from the mysterious meadows beyond. As they approached the bridge, Bailey bounded forward, eager to be the first to taste the clover on the other side. Bella, keeping a steady and cautious pace, followed close behind. Suddenly, as Bailey trotted onto the bridge, another goat from the other side appeared. His name was Barry, and he was just as eager to cross over from his side. "Out of my way, goat," Bailey snapped, his stubborn nature beginning to rear its head. "You move aside," Barry retorted, stamping his hoof. Neither goat was willing to budge, and a heated argument ensued. Bella watched anxiously, hoping the pair would find a peaceful solution. Finally, with Bailey and Barry stubbornly locked in a standoff, Bella stepped forward. "Wait," she said gently, her soft voice cutting through the tension. "If we keep butting heads, we'll never get to the other side. What if one of you let the other pass first, and then the next can go without any fuss?" Surprised by her wisdom, both Bailey and Barry quieted down. The sunlight danced on their fur as nice breezes rolled through. Slowly, understanding dawned in their eyes. In agreement, Bailey backed up and allowed Barry to cross first. Once Barry was on the other side, he bleated a polite thank you, and then, with a light step, Bailey followed. From that day on, the two goats, Bailey and Bella, continued their adventures with a newfound lesson in mind. Wisdom and patience were far better companions than stubbornness. As they wandered the meadows and explored beyond, they found not just clover and tall grasses, but also friendships and stories that filled their hearts with joy and delight. No valley or peak seemed too difficult to cross anymore, for they carried the lesson of harmony like a treasure in their hearts.